Welcome in, everybody. Just give us a second to get setting up here. This will probably, hopefully, we'll eventually be moved over to our own platform. We're working on that right now. Actually, we are just talking about that, but it'd be nice to eventually get into our own space. So thanks for your patience while we still work and kind of restream this across different platforms. But there's exciting stuff going on, as we were just talking about here. Let me give people a minute to join. But what is the most exciting thing you think we're working on right now, Anthony?
It's got to be Nova. It's probably a basic answer, just if you're a team member, because it's kind of like the main thing we're working on. But it's crazy to see it. Like, we've been talking for so long about competing. You always say like going toe to toe with Grok or ChatGPT. But of course, it's like the added functionality is like it's built by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. And obviously, it's going to have a wider range of use online. But it's really cool to finally see something that's past like a minimum viable product and into the stages of like, oh, this is actually performing way better than we probably imagined or thought it would initially, for the uses that we developed it for. It's pretty sweet to watch. So I gotta say, it's just Nova's functionality gets better every day. Its integrations get better every day. Like you like have been recommending updates here and there. One of them today was like, go check out like what happens when you ask it to put a task up on your calendar.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet to watch. So it's just those little things that, make an entrepreneur's life better. Honestly, like I use it for everyday life too. It's not even just for entrepreneurs at this point. But obviously that's our niche. But it's pretty cool to watch. I'll quit yapping.
Let me give people if you guys aren't tracking what that we were just talking about here, let me share my screen real quick. This is Nova. Just go to usenova.live and then you can ask it literally anything. What's the weather in Miami right now? And you guys can get different types of answers. It's got to introduce itself first. Let me actually sign in so it knows who I am. Usually if you guys are brand new to the platform, it's going to try to get to know you just so you can just so it can help you better, right? It's kind of a personal assistant. But you guys here, let me just show my recent chat. So if you're signed in, right, and it's already gotten to know you, here's your sources, just like Grok, just like any other platform. And then this AI can also execute, right? You can manage your tasks, your to-do list right here. You can go to your calendar, see your weekly schedule. Obviously, this is just a test account, so I got a bunch of random stuff in here. But obviously, linking your Google calendars and external calendars as well. You can just go to your connections right here, and this can manage your day-to-day. We're going to add more and more integrations to that as we go forward. But yeah, exciting stuff, Anthony. We'll keep updating you guys where that goes. But let's get into tonight's podcast.
Let's do it.
If you guys saw the title, we're going to be talking about a social issue today, and that is kind of the blame game that's going around. And this is going to be an exciting one to cover, hopefully for you clippers too that are making money clipping this podcast in our free community, alturasociety.com, or you're watching from there right now. Welcome in, and thank you guys for helping us grow. This is the Ascended Podcast. I'm Caleb Schuelke hosting this.
Anthony Parr, co-host here on Mondays. Today's Tuesday, but we usually do Mondays.
It's Monday somewhere, right?
Yep. Fiji, I think.
So nobody wants to hear this, right? And let's kick this off. I'm going to just be honest, and I've kind of been on the other side of this issue a lot too. I don't think boomers are necessarily the problem, right? They're not the ones that are causing a lot of the issues we're familiar with today. And I know that's going to piss some people off. It's kind of a popular thing to blame, right? Especially for us younger people. But stay with me, because what I'm about to say tonight is pretty much exactly going to change how you think about everything that's holding you back. And it starts with a question like that. So we're going to get to the blame game going on in society. I just gave you an example of one, right? And most of you guys aren't wrong. And a lot of your blame for types of people or different outward institutions is coming from a point of truth. But you're also not 100% right. And by the end of this, we're going to land on something that's honestly way more important. So I want to start by making an observation, right? I see it online everywhere, and I'm sure you do too, Anthony, like TikTok, Twitter, wherever. Boomers ruined the economy. Boomers bought all the houses up, right? Like boomers pulled the ladder up behind them, preventing us from climbing out too. Boomers could buy a house on minimum wage of 5 schmeckles back in the day, if ever it was. And some of that stuff's pretty factually accurate too. Like, my grandparents, yeah, it was a very easy economy. What's your take on that stuff too? Because I know you kind of got opinions. Have you seen people like hating, not just on the older generation, but just on like other people in general for having it easier than them? How often is that going around?
Oh, I mean, that's like built in our DNA, I think. This comparison, right? You never want to see yourself doing worse than others naturally. I think people who aren't that way have probably realized in the past most that's not the happiest way you can lead your life, right? To constantly be comparing yourself to others. And then being envious in terms of other people's better positions. But it happens, that's human nature. I want to just add to this point too. I think that there's that issue. People don't like that generation because they had it easier, and that's the reason we were talking about. But also, I think it has largely to do with it kind of just seems like a disregard. Like those same people are also the ones that now that they've had the last, like 40 years to retirement, and they just have all this money sitting around. So they're the ones kind of buying into this issue of house pricing not being really affordable for young people, young couples today, first time homeowners. They're kind of buying, there's like large corporations like BlackRock that are buying up a bunch of things, and prices are up anyways. But also like the older generation are the ones who have money to be investing in rental properties. So they're kind of buying into those issues. I think that it's two ways. They had it easier, and then they also seem to like disregard the fact that it's gotten harder, and I think people resent them for that. But I see it go around all the time. Like I said, human nature.
Yeah.
It's kind of up to you though at a certain point to figure if that's going to be conducive to what your goals are, or if you can actually make some change.
Yeah, you mentioned BlackRock too, and they just they're literally getting to play the cheat code, right? Because they just nominate or their chief information officer just got nominated for the position of Fed, right, chair. He's going to replace potentially Jerome Powell if he gets selected and approved there. I guess he was already kind of selected. He's got to get approved, but that would literally get BlackRock, who's buying like Blackstone too, right? They're related, who's buying an insane amount of real estate up and commercially kind of upcharging people in rent, removing houses from the open market. It's going to give them an insane advantage to know what the interest rates are for everybody else. I mean, technically, right, you can't do that, but he's the CIO of BlackRock. I'm sure he has connections. And so that's the problem, though. That generation, right, that had money, that got to do things like that got to ride the wave of the economy, and now that the economy's kind of wavering a bit, they got to play a game of Monopoly, and that's the game we're all used to, right? You buy a house, you live in it for a bit, save up some money, buy a second house, and then they just exponentially grow that. That's kind of how we were all taught to put your money in the stock market, right? Put it in the real estate, and it'll grow and compound over time. That's right, but it's also wrong because we're in today's day and age, we're playing a completely different game. And we're sitting here mad that the rules got changed on us, right? And to be honest, that's true, right? If you were playing Monopoly and somebody came in and said, actually, I think it's fair if I do this, you're going to be a little upset. But here's the thing nobody wants to admit. They played the game that they were given with the information they had. And if we're being honest with ourselves right now, we would have done the exact same thing if we had the same opportunity. You guys would have bought the cheap house. You guys would have stayed at the company for 30 years if it meant a guaranteed pension. You would have done exactly what worked. I mean, you agree with that? Do you think I'm wrong saying any of that?
Nope. If that's the way everybody's succeeding, we probably would have done the same thing. It's just going to be
So who's
college.
are so then are boomers the problem? Or like what if they're out if they aren't the problem, then what is? Because something's broken here.
You're asking me.
I mean, it's up to you. I think people are struggling. Wages don't match the cost of living now. The old playbook is just not working anymore. So what's actually happening here? What do you like? What's changed?
I think it has a lot to do with the effects of how your economy is ran, and I'm gonna try and be careful in like how I word it because I don't want to give an impression that I think that like I'll just say it outright. I think it's an effect of capitalism over time. Like every ism, every structured economy has like its downfalls, right? And I think that capitalism's is that the longer the companies that do well have time to play the game, the more and more power and control they gain of like they start buying out other ones. You see mergers and acquisitions until you see companies like BlackRock that can afford to buy entire zip codes in certain states worth of real estate, or businesses or food companies or whatever. Like it's a known fact that you can research this on your own time if you like, but if you go to the grocery store and you pick any certain aisle that has shelves up on the side, not necessarily the produce, but pretty much there's only like 5 companies that own, even though you see this illusion of like a lot of different brands you can choose from, there's really only like 3 to 5 companies that own separately every single one of those brands as a conglomerate. So that's just another example. But I think that we see higher pricing, we see scarcity of resources for the younger middle class, largely because there are conglomerates out there that have played the game with the rules as they were set since like the 1800s, maybe 1900s, and families come and go and pass it down, and corporations come and go and pass it down or get bought. And we end up with a society that, in order for those companies to continue beating their marks, they got to charge more and own more.
Yeah.
And so if companies are owning, if the top like certain percent, top like 5% of an organization, or I guess I could say our country is owning the majority, what does that leave the actual majority of people to own? I think that's the issue. So
And that's the thing. It's never been I don't think it's ever been a priority to give people more. It's always been a priority to see how much you can get away with just giving them before they get upset. And that seems to be what's happening more. I'm gonna do some quick subtle marketing here too, guys. I'm bringing back in Nova for a second. I asked Nova the question here, our AI. So use Nova.live again. If I let $100,000 compound at a market rate for 150 years over a couple generations, what would it be worth? Be worth $4.8 million roughly. If you invested $10,000 for 150 years, just $10,000 150 years ago would be worth $47 million if you just let it compound. So the families that had money that didn't need to spend it and just let it keep compounding at the market rate, with the Fed printing more money, with all these other issues, right? Anthony got removed there for a second, but with the market rate and just literally, if you didn't need the money, leaving it invested, the people that already won make sure they continue to win by making sure the market continues to add money. That's why I think the Fed announcement, right, and having BlackRock, who already owns like a couple $1 trillion of, I think they control like $13 trillion, and the world's worth roughly $100 trillion, $120 trillion. So they control almost 10% of the entire world. And they are now controlling the money supply, which is just going to exacerbate that, right? If they have that nomination go through, most people aren't tracking that, but that's what will happen. Their amount of money is going to compound to 20%, right, to 30%, and eventually the majority of the world's wealth will be owned by one company. So you guys should probably consider the possibilities of things like that happening. And it is really easy if you played that old game to get the advantage. But the problem is, guys, and what I'm going to say is, and I'll take this off and get back to the podcast here, we're not in that game anymore. We're still trying to play the game, and we're getting upset because it's not working. So I'm not going to blame them. I'm going to point the blame at you and say, why haven't you realized this? Why aren't you pivoting? We got so good at diagnosing what's wrong and what the problems are that we've completely forgotten how to fix anything. That's the disease that I'm seeing right here. That's why we have this podcast episode. There's not boomers. It's not the economy. It's not the government. It's that we've been trained and almost conditioned like a dog, right, to identify problems and then to stop there, to go on X, to go on social media, to vent, make a TikTok about it, to get likes on our frustration where other people agree with us, and then do absolutely nothing about it. How many podcasters, how many influencers, how many politicians, whoever it is, may or may not have been sold out or changed up or switched up on their own people just by addressing an issue, using that to get a platform, and then everyone stops caring and it just gets moved on. And people kind of play the same con game over and over. I mean, you ever catch yourself like doing that, like kind of genuinely ranting about something, but then never actually doing something about it?
Oh, all the time. Something I have to like actively not do, or at least catch myself when I am doing it, being like, I don't know if this is really bringing me closer to my goals. But once again, human nature, it feels like you're accomplishing something. You're not accomplishing. It feels nice to like complain, but at the end of the day, where does that bring you?
Do you know what that's called? Like, do you know what the condition of doing that is called?
No.
You probably do when I say it. It's called learned helplessness, and it's literally everywhere. It's how we talk about money, right? Like we just did with the Fed. You can't do anything about a company that controls a tenth of the world. About careers, about relationships. There's so many things beyond your control. And the system is rigged, so why try? I hear that line all the time. Why do you care so much about trying to change things? You can't make an impact. It's all luck anyway, right? It must be nice to have rich parents. It must be nice. I don't, right? And look, I get it. I've been there before. I've been in the same like hate game, right? Especially when I don't have much going for me. It's really easy to look for an excuse. I see that a lot with like fat people too, just to be honest. Like fat people say, you know what? It's I don't metabolize food well. But then they overfeed their dog and their dog gets fat and they say, well, I got to stop feeding my dog so much. What about you? Like, you're blaming something else that's completely inside your conditions. And you would do the same for an animal that's overeating. Why aren't you're not an animal as well? Again, there's a point where everybody does this and looking at what was wrong, blaming circumstances. Well, I'm going to ask the question, and I guess it's rhetorical, but feel free to answer. Where does that get you? When has it ever gotten you something? Or what has it gotten you the majority of the time? Again, maybe there's not an answer to that. I think we all know what the answer is. So I got a question for you. But I'll say that the moment I stopped asking, like, why is this unfair to me? Why are boomers winning? Why are companies controlling a tenth of the world and most people go without food? Why is the economy suck? Why is the earth overheating? Why are wars happening? Why are we getting dragged into them? And I started asking, what can I do anyway? Right? You guys know, like, we're both military. We're not trying to use that or anything. We're obviously under our own set of conditions here. We're not going to speak up on that, but we obviously choose to do something about the fact that we want to have an impact, and that is how we both serve. Right? And it's having a positive impact despite that. And when I started changing my mindset, especially as a leader too in the military, and saying, what can I do anyway? Everything started to change. Like, not because the world got easier, because it doesn't, but because I stopped waiting for it to get easier. That's the whole difference, right? So for Anthony, right? Because I know you've kind of overcame this journey too at different times, but can you give me an example, like when that switch happened for you, or are you still working on it? Because I think most people are kind of somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. I think I've shared this experience before. Um, I would say I'm always working on it because I have the same tendency to kind of just get in. If I let myself think too hard about all the things in the world that are happening that I don't really like or agree with, and feel sort of, like you said, helpless towards, kind of puts you in a bad spot. But I'll tell you, like, a specific time might have just been out of college. I got a job that was kind of like second choice for me, um, which wasn't that upsetting in the beginning, but turned out to just be something really completely different than I thought it was. And I would kind of show up to work and, because I was new and I was going to get sent to training anyway soon, it was like nobody would give me anything to do. So I was kind of just wasting my time. I'd like go to work 8 hours, sit there, ask for things to do, get given nothing, get told like, just wait till you go to training. So there was a period of like 3 months, where I wasn't being given anything to do. Nobody wanted to talk to me because I wasn't useful at that time of the cycle in which, if you know anything about my career field, it's a busy time. So I kind of just felt isolated. One, I was in a new spot, moved across the US, to a different state. Isolated from like feeling any purpose really. But there kind of came a switch too where because of that, I'd let my physical health go, kind of let my mental health, spiritual health go. Wasn't putting much effort into the marriage. But just like Caleb said, there came a point where it was like, I'm going to have to accept, because I am contractually bound to this job I've been given for at least another 4 years, 4.5 at that point. So am I going to just spend am I going to spend the prime of my life, age-wise, just being miserable and thinking constantly about it, the things I can't control and wishing I was somewhere else? Or am I going to spend it trying to be content, build something, you know, find the silver lining where I can, develop in areas that I might have otherwise put aside if it wasn't for the career part. Find some sort of avenue or multiple avenues to like still do something about my life anyways and not just let it go to waste. As a result of, the 8 hours a day I have to suffer, right? That was the mindset.
Like,
And then what would that have done for me if I just continued letting 8 hours ruin the other 16 of my day? Um, that's my experience. That happened like about a year ago, year and a half. That's it.
so, I mean, let's talk about that suffering because, I mean, tell me if you're with me on this or not. Every generation has advantages, right? Like, for instance, our generation, we have way more means to entertain ourselves than my parents did, right? So we get to have a lot more fun in our generation. We get to do things that are a lot more entertaining. We get the NFL's over everywhere. You had to listen to the radio way back then, right? Every generation also has disadvantages, the economy right now, but it also was terrible in the 1930s. So, I mean, ups and downs. Boomers had affordable housing, but no internet, no remote work. They couldn't get information very quickly or really at all. They couldn't date people, right? They kind of just had to settle with somebody in their hometown. and to be just happy and deal with it. We have insane cost of living, right? But unlimited free education on YouTube and the internet, global reach, tools that our parents couldn't have dreamed of. So what do you think are our generation's biggest unfair advantages out of that? Let's flip it on the heels for a second. Like, what do you think that thing is that the older generations couldn't have had that they're kind of salty about? Like they always said, I wish I would have had X when I was a kid, like you guys have.
Yeah, I mean, one is like pretty much the freedom to choose what kind of work you want to do.
Yeah.
Uh, it used to be that if you wanted to be anybody in this world, you had to go to college, get an education, pay for it, or it was pretty rare back then to get like a full ride. So you either had to be super smart, study super hard. You're giving up you're sacrificing some amount of time at some point, either before college or during, to work a job or to get the scholarship beforehand. And then you still had to go work, hard hours, manual labor a lot of times. Being a doctor is not necessarily manual labor, but it's really intensive labor for, periods you can't really predict. Nowadays, there's kids that are younger than me that make money by playing video games and they just stream it online. I mean, you kind of have the freedom to say, I do or don't want to go the traditional route of college. It's probably never been easier to start your own business in the history of ever, in my opinion, because we have so many free resources, or not even free. They don't even have to be free, but just so many resources that exist out there too.
Yeah, we're a free resource. AlturaSociety.com. Come get the education, learn how to do it.
Literally, yeah. I think it largely revolves around the internet, probably.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things came out of the internet, but I think there's more opportunity now than has ever existed.
Yeah. Yep. And here's the thing. Every single generation always, it's like the academy, right? You know this. We like every class says to the next class, we had it harder than you because we had a little bit, they made things easier for you guys, right? Somebody got hurt, something changed administratively, right? And same thing's true with education, or generations, I mean. Every generation blames the one before them. And then the generations that come before say, you guys are way too soft. Your life is way too easy. Every single one. I guarantee you guys are going to do it to your kids too. And you know what? Every generation that wins and has success has in common? They stopped blaming and did something about it regardless with what they had. That's it. That's the entire playbook. But what you won't do is apply the same strategy to win across generations because nowadays everything changes so fast. You got to use a different playbook too. But what do you think is so hard for people to make the switch though? Because it was easy, right? Everybody would do it. But why is it so hard? Why is it so hard to stop being pessimistic and necessarily and get on it, right? To get shit done. Like what has to change? Let's break this down because I want to hear your perspective as like a having personal training experience and stuff and mentoring people in the gym. I think that's very like near avenues.
So what are we breaking down? I did cut out for a second.
So like why is it so hard for people to make the switch from stopping to blame things and starting to build? Because if it was like easy, everyone would do it, was kind of what I was saying. Like,
Yeah.
my answer is it's like external versus internal. For once, you have to actually flip the script and look internal for once.
Yeah, I make this analogy a lot. I mean, I didn't come up with this. A friend told me about it, and he probably got it from someone who's accredited with it. But it's this analogy of like, maybe it sounds cringy, but I call it like slaying your own dragon. I think it was, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I heard that. Yeah.
Basically, if you're in high school, college, you play a sport, whatever, everything is regimented and structured and built for you. So you know exactly where the dragon is, you know exactly what tools you're equipped with to beat it, and you know the strategies of those who've done it before you. Whereas you finish high school, you move on to college, finish college. And let's say if you didn't already have a career lined up, you've got to figure that out. So for the first time ever, you're faced with, in this case, the economy, you're faced with house pricing, you're faced with the dating scene. If that's what you're into, you're trying to, start family soon. You're faced with high prices on groceries, gas, whatever. Those are all combined, like maybe separate dragons, but it's just this new dragon that you now have to figure out how to slay. You don't just get to be told, hey, this is how it works and you just better fall in line and do it anymore. It's kind of like, well, there's a lot of avenues. People make it work through a lot of ways. You could go get a job right now. You could go start your own company. You could try and get hired on to this other place, and there's a career progression here, but maybe there's not in this one, but it pays more. There's a million ways you can take it. It's your life at the end of the day, both scary part and the beauty. And I think that what differentiates people who view it as what can I do anyways versus I can't do anything about this, it largely has to do with whether or not you see it as an opportunity or hindrance, the fact that you have to come up with it yourself now. If you saw it as a hindrance like most people do, then I think you kind of automatically fall in like a group of people that's like, there's not much I can do. I better just go to work every day and make sure I have enough to eat and if I have a family, provide for them, and that's it. But if the endless opportunity without necessarily a cage structure as an opportunity to do something you've dreamt of forever or that you see yourself doing but maybe you're scared to do, I think that's when you start to see those people automatically fall in the I view this situation as what can I do anyways. Uh, I think those are two different ways of thinking about the same question you just proposed, but it's comes down to whether or not you're gonna see anywhere otherwise doesn't exist when others, I guess, when others can't see it, and chase it anyways. Because at the end of the day, you only get seems like a long time, but you only get a certain number of years where you're actually in your prime to make things happen. Like it will start early, start late. It's up to you. Nobody's gonna come do it for you.
They move fast too.
Yeah.
So do you like dragons or?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I don't want anybody to think I'm cringe for that, but it's like a good way for me to visualize that, I guess.
I assume you don't like them because you're trying to slay them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you what I think is my spark nose version of that. I think it's just because complaining is free. Like building costs something, costs your time, your ego, your comfort, and most people aren't willing to pay that price. Fair and simple. So either stay in the blame game because it's safe. You can't fail, right? If you never even give a shit or try in the first place. You can't be wrong if you just point at what's broken, right? You can't be like if you're on the bullying side, you always look right because the finger isn't pointed your way. So I mean, let's get practical. For the people that actually listen to this and are really ready to do something and don't want to just continue to support a society and a culture that just makes this problem worse, if they feel like just they don't fit in the normal swing of things like us, who feel like we could be part of that, right? We could do really good in the blame game theater, or we could just not, right? And if you want to do something about it, I want to give you guys some information because I don't want this to just be another podcast where we just kind of talk about problems. We literally just said that's like the whole disease right there, right? So here's what nobody tells you. I want to think about how I want to word this. The skills to change your life have never been more accessible, as we just both of us pointed out. Free YouTube tutorials, free podcasts right here, AI tools that can write, code, design, online courses that can teach you literally anything. The barrier isn't access anymore. It's not getting into that university. It's action. Will you actually do it? Will you actually take your time? Because you can put it anywhere, like the fig tree, right? You can try to catch every fig before it falls to the ground, then you won't catch any. And you can actually dedicate to a purpose or you don't. So what's one skill that you would say you're either trying to build or you've kind of been picking up in the last year, Anthony, that kind of cost you nothing, that you were willing to say, I'm fine if this takes a little while to learn. I can be patient and wait till I become a better master of this craft.
Marketing. That's kind of a broad term. I could dumb that down even further to say like content creation. That was extremely new to me. Did a lot of it this last year. For different avenues, I think now mostly I manage other content that's being submitted on behalf of Altura. I'm not making a ton of it anymore myself, but that was one thing too that I knew nothing about. I wasn't very good at. But if you just consistently do it, just like anything, we all know it's inherent. You're gonna get better at it.
Yeah. And that's it, right? That's the unlock. And I'd say most people, right, are waiting for permission. They're waiting for like some, again, I always say some angel to come down from the sky and bless you with the gift of action, right? Even just thinking you have to take action is usually, right, if you're religious, that's God's sign to you. Like if you just have the indication, if you have something in the back of your head saying, I should do this, that is the sign. It's not a big moment. It's not a cinematic reveal. It's just the thought. And if you act on it or if you don't, you're either winning or you're not. If you're waiting for somebody to tell you you're ready, you're definitely not winning. And if while you're waiting, somebody out there with half of your talent is out there just doing it badly until they get better, but just gonna beat you at the end of the day. You guys get worse and worse because you sit where you are waiting for somebody else to come in and tell you you're wrong, even though you know you're wrong the whole time. And then you blame that person. I see it all the time, right? Take action, get up, go figure it out, and stop blaming other people for being mad at you because your situation's staying still. Most of the time, those people actually want you to succeed, right? I find that a lot. A lot of my bullies are just people that actually want me to win. And they're saying, come on, you can do it. But if you're in the wrong headspace, it looks like they're attacking you, right? A lot of times it's your wife, right? It's your partner, it's your friends. They want you to succeed. And if somebody's listening right now, right, you guys know what's in you. You don't want to know what separates the people that make it from those who don't. I know it's a cliche line, but here's my answer. It's not the generation, right? As we've said, it's not their daddy's money. It's not luck. It's literally whether or not you decide to stop waiting for permission right now. Because I guarantee everyone sitting here at least knows one thing they could try to make some money tonight. If you're not going to do it, well, I think it's on you. I'm going to just say that, regardless of your situation. And if somebody's listening right now and they're stuck in that loop, right? Blaming, venting, feeling helpless, what is one thing you think we should have them do this week? Like, not this year. What should they do right now this week? What's a good first step?
Get in contact. What's up?
I was going to say, you want to go? I can give you mine or you can go first. I don't know if you have an idea ready, but
You give me yours. I want to see where you're taking this.
yeah, mine is pick one thing you've been necessarily complaining about recently that's sticking out. Like somebody you've hated, right? Maybe you're a hater online. Somebody that you've envied, right? That's a sin, right? Just one. And this week, just instead of talking about how broken it is, as much as we love to do on this podcast, take one small action of fixing that set of circumstances for yourself. Because I will say, as much as you think somebody else's success isn't related to you, you wouldn't be mad if you didn't feel attacked because they have something you don't. Figure out what that is. A lot of times it's money, it's looks, it's weight, it's attraction, one of those things, and fix it. Not fixing the whole system, just your corner of it, your little way to improve and prove to yourself you can. It's not about getting from, an S tier, D tier to an S tier, facial looks maxing, right? And being the hottest celebrity on the market in a weekend. It's about showing yourself you have control because that control just extended in a longer period of time is how you win. That's my first step. Pick something that you can prove to yourself is a win. Go ahead, Anthony.
I love that. I think I would probably agree that's a great first step. Another maybe other first step or second step could be find someone ideally like in your circle or near you that one is doing something that you would like to be better at or exemplifies a certain character trait or has a tangible skill that you would like to learn and see if you can't just connect yourself with that person. Maybe it's a group of people. And if you don't have that option, let's say you're for some reason just absolutely not connected with the world at all, go find some connections to make. Because it's infinitely easier to stay on track when, not that you have to, like verbally commit yourself to your work for them, but it's easier when you're surrounded by people that are of a similar mindset or have achieved what you'd like to in the past to stick to it for yourself.
Yeah. That's it. It's really just I love the saying you become the sum of your 5 closest friends. And it's like that's the easiest way because you guys don't even have to do anything. You can just meet people, right? You're not gonna meet I wouldn't say you're generally more likely to meet A tier level people on Xbox as much as I love Xbox than you are going to a coffee shop, going to hit the gym, going to jujitsu. That's what Anthony does, right? Find people. We started with boomers, right? And the point is not that they're innocent, right? The point is blaming them or anybody else instead of flipping it because that doesn't build your future. Only you can do that. Please understand that. And I think the one thing to do is figure out something you can do tonight. It's not, again, changing the world. Make your bed. Do something that is productive because most of you guys haven't even proven to yourself that you can hold your own word. You're lying to yourself when you start a diet. You're lying to yourself with a new workout routine. Prove to yourself your word means something, and that will compound the more you do it. And take your word for granted. Most of you guys make false promises. I think actually for me, I flipped my life around fastest when I stopped telling people I was going to do stuff I wasn't going to do. And when I actually started treating whatever I said as something that was a promise, like that, even if nobody heard it. And when I locked in, now I tell myself I'm going to do something and it's literally getting done because I don't break my own word. Why would I lie to myself? I care about myself more than anybody else. Like I want myself to win. And so you gotta treat yourself with respect. That's not a bad thing. Society teaches you that's bad to give a shit about yourself, but you gotta look in the mirror sometimes and you gotta pull yourself up and get to work. Final thoughts though? Anything else you want to add for people listening?
Yeah, it's way more doable than you think too. Um, I think back to the progress I made on my own personal brand just in like a year's time, and I'd not even a year's time frame, really consistently in like 6 months. And then I think about the progress that Caleb and I and our team member Alvin have made, even from the point before we even had Alvin, like up until now. And you never really know what is achievable for you, or even what opportunities are out there until you start chasing them. And then you'll start to see like these little smaller things that you were just like, man, if only I could get this running for the business. You just kind of keep doing that day in, day out, and you work and you get better. Maybe it's not your business. Maybe it's just like you want to get better at, maybe you want to lose some weight in the gym. Um, you'll start to see like a lot of those little things kind of come and go. And then you look back and it's like, man, I remember wishing I could hit, one plate. Now it's been 5 years and I rip 2 plates now.
Yeah.
Just as an example. So in an application to anything you're trying to be better at, or develop, it's achievable. A lot of people are doing it. And a lot of people are doing it because, like we talked about earlier this podcast, there's no better time to do it. I mean, you have every resource you could possibly imagine, whether it's free or whether you have to pay for it. All it takes is a little bit of research and some dedication and time. And what you want is completely possible. It's just, and everybody says this too. It's like, oh, you just got to put the time into it, but you genuinely need to you need to understand that you can do it. You can do it. It's not impossible. Caleb and I, have had our doubts about what we were going to achieve.
I'm sure. Every time I put that credit card in, I get a little bit of. Ooh.
It's like, man, is this really worth being 20 G's in the hole? And, missing time with family, missing time with spent, we could have been traveling, whatever else. I can name all the sacrifices, but
It's more expensive to live with regret, I think, because money, you're not going to die with money. You'll die with regret. That costs more to you at the end of the day.
die on the road, but at least you're on the road.
Like that penguin heading to the mountains.
So we both made that our screensaver today. Are we tough for that?
We might be. Okay, here's the last thing I'll say. Please stop fighting people in the same sinking ship we live in. Everyone's out here arguing about who poked a hole while the water's like rising in the raft, right? Just grab the tools, start building a new raft, and help somebody else actually get onto that. That's how we win, not by blaming, but by building. Altura is the perfect place. It's right here, alturasociety.com. It's free. Meet people that actually care. It's about entrepreneurs. We give you access, if you're a member in Altura, to coaching calls. I'll personally give you my time to help you build your business. I am invested in you. We're going to do summits. We're going to do masterminds. We're going to invite guest speakers. We're going to have an academy dropping. You guys, if you're a member, get free access to our AI that we just showed you, Nova, which is literally protecting your data, not giving it out like ChatGPT or Grok. It's an open source model that we protect your info on. We build systems for you guys, and we want to help you guys connect. Just launch the social media side of it, content clipping, right? If you guys want to start making money and start small, like Anthony said, with content creation, be a clipper. We'll show you guys exactly what to do, and you can make money just clipping this podcast, helping this message grow if you actually believe in it. That's the easiest way to start making a couple bucks. Don't blame. Please don't. Catch yourself. Be very vigilant, right? Look for what you're saying in your head as well as out loud. Most of it's actually in your head. That's the iceberg underneath the surface. And when you hear a negative thought, ask yourself why you're thinking it. And it's most of the time not necessary. Appreciate you guys listening though. If it hit different, right? We're trying to keep these a little bit shorter. It's not gonna be an hour long every time, but this will probably be about 40 minutes when we're done editing and stuff. But share it with somebody who needs to hear it. Invite somebody to Altura. We're eventually going to have an app. The Nova app's dropping really soon. If you want the AI on your phone to manage your day-to-day life. And we'll see you guys in the next one. That's it. Have a good one, guys. We're rooting for you.